hair. It's so exciting. Oh, hey. Hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14, Episode 4. And before I get started, I need to make an apology to Ross James, Eric K., and Quirkus. I welcomed them to the Fingerdoo family on Patreon last week, but didn't add them to the credits. Sorry, dolls. You're in there now. I double-checked. I would also like to welcome Karen Brodegam to the family, as well as Eleanor, who upgraded herself from a diva to a princess. Thanks, Eleanor. If you would like to join the Fingerdoo family on Patreon, the link is down below. I also want to thank this week's tipper dues, like April Holden, who, God bless, has been having some pain issues and trouble sleeping, and she told me that she's been finding my videos have been helping her with both. Wait, is she saying that my videos are putting her to sleep? I also want to say thank you to Wesley Adams, my tipper-do boyfriend Vito, and finally, Joshua Cargill. Now, if that name rings a bell, don't be surprised, because that's the boy name of Drag Race UK Season 1 sweetheart, Blue Hydrangea. I know, shut your faces! Thanks, Blue. Let's do a chin wag when you're done with the UK versus the world. Oh, and when are you going to be making more makeup? I'm so serious. I am loving the hell out of my shady lady. Let me look at it's almost to a nub. Almost to a nub. I need to get more. If you'd like to get Blue Hydrangea's lipstick from Be Perfect Cosmetic, she actually has 3 shades and a mini collection of eyelashes. I'm going to be putting that link down below, as well as the link to becoming a tipper-do. Shut up! I also need to thank David Burkett, my makeup enabler, who sent me Beauty Bay's Nudes palette. I'm so excited. He's challenged me to recreate Raven's look, so challenge accepted, David. Stay tuned. And yes, the Beauty Bay link is down below as well. Seriously. Now, Jorge, drink me. Oh, look at this. Is this one of my favorite Fresca teenies? Fresca margarita? Yes, it is. The seed, could have died. Okay, well, we picked up where we left off last week with the queens returning to the workroom to say goodbye to June. Of course, Angie was feeling it, and Maddie was feeling guilty, but Cornbread put a stop to that right away by saying, sending someone home is the name of the game. And she's right. It's just like the sewing challenge. You knew it was coming before you got there. Somebody has to sashay away. Would Maddie prefer she went home instead? Well said, Cornbread. Seriously. Speaking of Maddie, Dea was happy to see her sister survive to slay another day, but she was worried she wouldn't be staying for long if she didn't start to turn on the personality. I agree. Sparkle, Maddie! Come on. Cornbread then led the cheer to congratulate Willow on her first win, even after entering the workroom in flip-flops. Speaking of flip-flops, am I the only one who grew up calling them thongs? I remember how confused I was when thong underwear was created, because I thought that meant that everyone was rocking around with sandals down their pants. Just me? God bless Orion, because production thought it would be fun if she asked if anyone else thought they should have won. Way to diminish Willow's achievement, World of Wonder, seriously. Of course there were other queens who thought they should have won. Well, all of them should be thinking that, or else why the hell are they there? I just am so serious. But the queen who spoke up was Jasmine. And by spoke up, I mean erupted in a long and winding road as to why she thought she should have won, which was wearing on the other queen's last nerve. And by that I mean Cornbread. And it was putting the snack to sleep. Well, she wasn't the only one. I love Bosco quoting herself by saying, "That's a lot of emotion for safe." Alyssa seemed to be the only one with any words of encouragement for Jasmine, mostly because, well, Alyssa thought she should have won too. It just didn't take her all day to say it. Plus, she had the wherewithal to say she was happy to be safe, because she wasn't that first week is all I'm saying. Even as the queens de-dragged, Jasmine was still going on about not winning the ball. Hell, she was still talking the next day in the workroom. Even sweet, demure Carrie told her to shut up. And that's when Cornbread's dam broke and she told Jasmine to stop rambling on. Seriously, talk about a smackdown. But someone had to say it, seriously. Thank God Ru arrived with this week's Maxi Challenge, the art of the tease. The queens had to create super teasers with Michelle and Carson, which I was excited about because super teaser was my drag queen name in high school. Ru also told the queens that this week's runway theme was going to be Night of 1,000 JLos, which, well, I was excited about because short of that green Versace number, I can't really remember any specific JLo looks. Can you? Because Willow won last week's Maxi Challenge and Maddie won the lip sync, they were this week's team captains and got to pick their team members one by one. Willow picked Cornbread, LC, Bosco, Carrie, and Georgia, while Maddie chose Deja, Dea, Angie, Alyssa, and Orion. That left Jasmine last. I know, I'm shocked. So was Jasmine when Ru told her she got to pick which team she wanted to go on. Well, she picked Willow's team, much to Cornbread's surprise. Hell, you can practically hear Cornbread mentally screaming, "Not this team!" Apparently she's not psychic. As Team Willow got to work, it was clear that Willow's experience with sketch comedy and, well, Carrie's willingness to act a fool, as long as she could stay pretty, were going to be assets. But poor Georges was stressing herself out over this challenge, and it worried Willow. What worried me was that Cornbread seemed to jump on Jasmine every time she put a toe out of line. Jasmine was talking, then she wasn't talking, then she was writing, then she wasn't writing. For me, it actually got to a point where Cornbread was starting to become the problem, not Jasmine. I know, I'm shocked. Speaking of problems, over on Team Maddie, Alyssa was taking it personally that her team wasn't liking any of her ideas. Well, they sucked, that's why. Some of the better ideas were, well, coming from Maddie, proving to her team that she not only had a good sense of humor, but she also had some really great ideas, too. Take some notes, Alyssa, I'm just saying. Not like Maddie has a big personality. Speaking of Angie, she had a great attitude, didn't she? She caught herself saying that she's not an actor, then changed it to say, well, just because I haven't done something doesn't mean I can't do it. She just hasn't done it yet. Well said, Angie, seriously. And then it was time to film their super teasers with Michelle and Carson. Team Willow went first, and for all their issues, Cornbread and Jasmine ended up working very well together. Maybe Carrie being part of their mirror scene helped. Lord knows she didn't hurt. Maddie's team's group scene on the couch had its rough spots, but then that's what a rehearsal's all about. Mind you, the real rough spot for me was Angie not recognizing a Valley of the Dolls reference when she heard it. Bless. But when push came to shove, and it did, they seemed to work very well together too. Angie and Deja's scene was so natural, Michelle and Carson forgot they were acting, while Maddie and Daya's tender moment was very funny too. Probably because Tender Moment was my drag queen name in high school. The only real rough spot seemed to be, well, Alyssa. Not that she didn't try, bless. Speaking of rough spots, Cornbread had her issues too. Mostly because she seemed to have only one gear, over the top. There was no build, so there was nowhere for her to go. Speaking of nowhere to go, Georgia seemed to struggle as well, but to be honest, I think she just freaked herself out where this challenge was concerned. Bless. The next day, as the queens got ready for the runway, whether they did well or not in the challenge, they were all excited for today's category, Night of 1,000 JLos. To distract themselves, the queens started talking about who their supporters were. Maddie said, although she's not really sure what her dad thinks of her doing drag, he supports her 100%. Here's the supportive dad, seriously. That's when Alyssa shocked the room by saying not only does her father support her, but, well, they came out to each other when her father found gay porn on Alyssa's computer. Needless to say, the queens were gagged, but none more than Alyssa at the time. Seriously, a pageant queen and a gay dad? I think that makes Alyssa the gay messiah. No? Of course, that got Carrie gushing on how cute Alyssa is out of drag, but seeing as she's a self-admitted bird watcher, I'm not surprised. I have to say, I thought that was the cutest term I've ever heard, bird watcher. It's way better than calling yourself a thirsty queen, I'm just saying. But understandably, this confused Lady Camden. As a Brit, Elsie is used to the term bird, meaning female, so she needed clarification on who was checking out what and why. That's when production rang the alarm, calling all the queens over to the video monitor, where they almost died when Miss Jennifer Lopez herself popped up. Hell, I almost died. She had a few words of encouragement for the queens and wished them all luck for their night of 1,000 JLos. And with their heads and hearts singing, it's time for the runway. I didn't hate Ru's gold situation, mostly because I loved the wig. Michelle looked lovely, as always, and Ross was rocking another fabulous baseball jacket, although I was surprised to see him on the panel because Carson was the one who helped direct the Maxi Challenge. Poor thing was probably just wore out. It was a lot. And returning to the Drag Race judging panel, one of my favorite guest judges, Miss Lonnie Love, looking all kinds of fierce in her magenta sequins. And then it was time for the runway. Willow's J-Lo look was inspired by her 1998 Grammy outfit. Not an iconic look, if you ask me, but Willow nailed it, so I had to give her a Fingerdoo. Cornbread's look was inspired by J-Lo's 2018 Met Gala outfit. I was impressed by this, so I gave Cornbread a Fingerdoo. Look good. Even though the color was off, LC's recreation of J-Lo's 2019 CFDA Awards outfit was gorgeous, and she looked good in it. Fingerdoo for LC. I love me some Bosco, but I hated this recreation of J-Lo's 2009 Golden Globes gown. No offense, but the fabric was wrong. The draping on the bodice was wrong. Bosco's breasts looked unhappy in it. And where was the booty? Sorry, but Fingerdoo for Bosco. Bless. Is anyone else surprised that Carrie wore the green 2020 Versace number that was an homage to the one that J-Lo wore to the Grammys in 2000? Personally, I would have been mad if she hadn't. I also agree with Carrie. If Vogue doesn't repost pictures of her in this outfit, I'm going to lose it. Seriously, Fingerdoo for Ms. Colby. Georges looked gorgeous in her interpretation of J-Lo's 2020 Super Bowl onesie, but I was very disappointed by the color of her nude fabric. It was way too light and a bit of a distraction for me. So, as good as she looked in it and as well as she sold it on that runway, I have to give it a Fingerdoo. Color match the nude fabrics, queens. Come on. Jasmine's interpretation of J-Lo's 2015 AMA gown was perfection. Fingerdoo for Jasmine. Maddie's version of the outfit J-Lo wore to the 2021 inauguration was perfection. The only thing she was missing was that clutch, but I still gave her a Fingerdoo. I nearly died when Deja Skye stepped out in her version of J-Lo's 2018 VMA's Fantasy. Was it an exact match? No. But what it was gorgeous. The fit, the styling, all of it seemed to work. In fact, if that cape had been the same fabric as the original, I think the whole thing would have looked too busy. Way to edit, Deja. Fingerdoo for you, girl. Seriously. I like Daya's recreation of J-Lo's Super Bowl 2020 outfit, but I'm not sure I liked it on her. I think the problem was the pink fabric of that skirt. It didn't have as much body as the original and kind of just hung there. It needed to be fuller. Thank goodness she took it off so I could give her a Fingerdoo. Because without it, stunning! Stunning! One of the night's best looks had to be Angeria Paris Van Michael's version of J-Lo's look for the 2019 Met Gala. Elegance? Check. Opulence? Check. Fingerdoo? Check, check, check. I like Alyssa's version of J-Lo's zoot suit from the 2018 Billboard Awards, but I loved it when she removed the coat to show off that bejeweled corset. Oh my God, that was gorgeous. Fingerdoo for Ms. Hunter. Orion looked good in her interpretation of J-Lo's 2013 HRC dinner gown, so, well, I gave her a Fingerdoo as well. I think it could have looked better, but it didn't look bad. And then it was time to watch the Queen's super teasers. First, Team Willow, and I have to say, I not only was impressed, I laughed out loud a couple of times, so here's to Team Willow. Well done, seriously. Team Maddie, on the other hand, was so funny in so many ways. Deja's makeup killed me. Daya's expressions were hilarious, and Angie surprised me in the best way possible. Well done, Team Maddie. Seriously. Everyone's good this year. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Much to my surprise, there was no winning team. Usually, the winning team is safe. This wasn't one of those times. From Team Willow, LC, Bosco, Georges, and Jasmine were safe, while Team Maddie's Captain, Daya, and Orion were all safe. Slightly stunned, but mostly relieved, the safe queens frigged off to the Untucked Lounge. So would I, just no questions asked. As for the rest of the queens, Lonnie Love and Ross loved Willow Pill's performance in the challenge, and when asked by Ru why she picked that look for the runway, Willow said it was because it looked a little bit ugly. Oh, thank God. I didn't think she knew. Cornbread was another fave of the judges, but I'm with Lonnie Love when she advised her to lay off the food jokes and to trust herself to do other things. Here's to Lonnie Love. Excellent advice. That's why I love her. Ru agreed and said that Cornbread had to show some of the other things that she's been afraid to show. Well, that's when Cornbread's floodgates broke. She got very emotional talking about her younger self and how hard it was for her to connect with others. God bless her. Puts a lot of pressure on herself, that Cornbread. Sweet Marie and the Ships at Sea. I completely skipped over Deja Sky. I blame Jorge's cocktails. Needless to say, she was another fave of the judges. While Ross not only thought she was a natural in front of the camera, but loved the way she edited J-Lo's original outfit. Here's to Deja Sky. I'm so serious. The best thing about Carrie's critique was her telling the panel that her outfit was the original one worn by J-Lo. Well, that gagged everyone, including me, because I think that Carrie is way too tall to wear something J-Lo did. Regardless, Michelle commented on how beautiful Carrie looked in it, then cautioned her not to get caught up in pretty and let herself be ugly and vulnerable, and the judges agreed. But seriously, even ugly Carrie would still be the most beautiful queen in the room, let's just be honest. Angie was next, and Ross couldn't compliment her enough on her natural acting ability. Ru even went so far as to say it looked like she forgot the camera was even there, and Lonnie Love just fell in love with her runway look. Who didn't? Alyssa Hunter was next, and although everyone thought she looked good and did a good job in the challenge, Michelle said she got stuck in a high-pitched screaming moment and never changed. Well, that was Alyssa's turn to get emotional as she talked about, well, for instance, her issues with the language. Ru assured her that she was there for a reason and to not get stuck in that one note. And with that, the queens retired to the Untucked Lounge. Oh, can we just take a moment to enjoy whatever enema Michelle's been taking? Her whole Gorge Orwell, Gorge Takei, Gorge R.R. Martin tangent is hilarious. Just me? Back in the Untucked Lounge, there were some personal triumphs, like Jasmine proving she's not a talkative bimbo who wants to be the center of attention. Who was she talking to? Georges admitted to the rest of the safe queens that, well, she was so scared by the challenge and how relieved she was to be safe. As the queens gave each other's egos a well-deserved stroke, you heard me, it was pointed out to Jasmine that she kept calling Orion, Orion. Well, that kind of slaps her I ain't a talkative bimbo who wants to be the center of attention speech straight to hell, doesn't it? After complimenting the hell out of Oreos, oh no, wait, I'm saying it wrong. What is it? Orion. After complimenting the hell out of Orion's dress, was it me or did she tell Orion she's happy she's here once too often? Like, there was a rumor going round that some of them weren't. Maddie got a lot of kudos for not only the work she did, but how funny she was in the teaser. Daya was surprised she wasn't in the top. LC told Maddie the judges were laughing through her entire video, and, well, then Daya complimented her makeup. And LC started playing with her ponytail, which is when it hit me. These queens were flirting. Well, okay, mostly Lady Camden. Either way, Maddie was just loving the warm and fuzzies. I mean, who wouldn't? When it's the name of your friend play. While the syrup was still pouring and my mind started to wander, did anyone else notice this? What the hell is that? It looks like some serious arm thumbing, if you ask me. God, Georges looks scared. Our Lady Camden had an emotional moment reflecting on the weight of expectation that she felt from family and friends and supporters back home. You know, it breaks my heart whenever I hear someone like LC say, I just want to make them proud. Seriously, why does she think they aren't? Now, if we want to talk about disappointment, that's when Jasmine's dam broke. She'd been silent as long as she could, poor thing. She analyzed why she picked her team. She expressed what it was like to work with Cornbread. She digested what RuPaul said. and how happy she was that the whole thing had worked out. Poor thing would have probably still been talking if the rest of the queens hadn't arrived, and they were looking a little worse for wear. Cornbread wasted no time telling the Sake Queens that it was most likely herself and Carrie in the bottom, and that everyone thought this week's winner was going to be Deja Skye. Of course, Deja was beyond flattered because, well, she admitted that she was the most worried about the acting challenges. Here's to Deja, and Angie for that matter. It's always the ones with the least experience that surprise you the most. Well done. There was a brief moment when Jasmine asked Cornbread a question. Well, it blew over right away, but now there's a part of me that thinks Jasmine is poking the bear on purpose, keeping Cornbread distracted. I don't actually think Jasmine's doing that, but if she was... To change the subject, the room sang the praises of Willow. Well, and why wouldn't they? It was her second week in a row getting some love from the judges. Willow was sure that it was between Deja and Angie. Personally, I have to say this is one of those rare moments when I had no idea who was going to win. All three queens did a great job. Seriously, here's to them. Well done. To bring the room down, Bosco asked Alyssa how she was doing. Well, clearly not good, bless. Alyssa thought it was going to be her and Carrie in the bottom. She felt she tried too hard to be as funny as the other queens and that she hadn't been able to get across what she wanted. Obviously, she was upset, but I was really impressed with how she held it together. Here's to Alyssa. Seriously. Carrie felt frustrated too, even if Alyssa didn't believe it. Carrie was having trouble with the judges telling her to loosen up because she felt pretty loose already. Don't trip over that innuendo. Georges shared her relief at being safe, but Cornbread stopped her from getting emotional because she is safe. Check those emotions, girl. Seriously. Before the queens returned to the stage, Maddie apologized to Alyssa for her landing in the bottom. As their team captain, Maddie felt she was partly responsible. Of course she wasn't, and of course Alyssa didn't think so either, but it was a touching moment that I'm sure meant a lot to Alyssa. Just a Maddie thinking of others, seriously. When the queens returned to the stage, it was announced that this week's winner was Miss Angeria Paris Van Michaels. Well done, Angie. 2 wins for you, seriously. Sadly, the queens in the bottom were Carrie, Colby, and Alyssa Hunter, much to Cornbread's relief. Personally, I was gagged. I thought all the queens did a good job, and I, for one, would have had trouble picking 2 queens to lip sync. So, to see such strong queens in the bottom so early was a shock for sure. They lip synced to my all-time fave J-Lo song, Play. Out of the gate, I thought Alyssa was going to win. She did more, she danced more, and even took her hair out of that ponytail. Carrie did a great job too, but, well, she wasn't reinventing the wheel or breaking a sweat. Sadly, it was all her trying that was Alyssa's undoing, especially when her money gun let her down. It's not a euphemism, I'm just saying. So, I wasn't surprised that it was Carrie who shantaed. But Alyssa wasn't out of it yet. She still had her chocolate bar to unwrap. Unfortunately, there was no gold bar under the wrappings, and it was Alyssa who was season 14's second sashayer. So, what do you think? Did the right 2 queens land in the bottom? Was Alyssa's broken money gun enough to send her home? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And while you're there, check out my links in the description box. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And until next week, miss me. Seriously, Jorge. You know, Jorge, I have to give it to Jasmine for holding it together in the face of Cornbread. Oh my God, that relentless harping and picking, and oh, it was so much. That could have gone so many other ways, and most of them involved wigs being snatched off. So I'm just very impressed that Jasmine was able to do that. Speaking of Cornbread, she's doing herself no favors. Clearly, she's worried, and her only defense is to distract herself by picking on other people. That's learned behavior. That says something about how badly she had it growing up. Bless. Doesn't make it easier to watch, but still. I was impressed with Angie. I thought she did a great job. Willow's surprising the hell out of me. And Deja Skye, the only reason I think she didn't win is because she's so low-key. It's almost effortless, everything she does. And, she's just there. At some point, she's going to have to sparkle, too. Because she shines. But she's not doing any sparkling. My queen's to sparkle. Speaking of sparkling, do you like this green top?